Howdy, folks, and thanks for dropping by for Moose Podcast number 312. Trust you folks are doing well. It's that time of year. The sun has made that move. The light is gorgeous nearly every minute of the day. What days are left as the sun gets going towards the other direction and days get shorter? I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate your support. Also appreciate the support there. The folks at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. Hey, they still got that great Nikon Z lens trade-in deal going. Same time, you mentioned the old MOOSC, you're going to get that 5% discount along with most likely free shipping. And for a lot of people in a lot of states, no sales tax. But besides the monetary gains, you're talking to some really knowledgeable people with a vast inventory, great prices, and just darn right friendly. So head to bedfords.com or give them a phone call. Either way, they're just dying to help you out. And remember to thank them for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. A lot of things going on. For those who weren't following the website, couple things. One, I'm now on this new app called Any Question. It's called Any Question. And on there, you can ask any question. And there is a whole lot of photographers on there that you can ping. I'm being one of them with questions. But what's really unique is you type in your question, and then we get on the old video chat and actually record a short video answer for you. And I've been on there for about a week now, and I've been listening to some of the other of my peers, and I'm telling you, I'm learning stuff on there. This have been great questions. You got some, and you want to make a real quick ask the question, get the answer kind of scenario. Here you go. Check out the app, Any Question. Also, I posted a pretty lengthy video this week on the ProPhoto A10 flash and using it as a telephoto flash for color for critter photography. It's there for a number of reasons. One, because I wanted to get it done. Two, I had a few folks asking about that. And three, with the move to the ProPhoto A10, kind of wanted to explain in a video format why I have done it. So that's there along with a whole lot of other videos on my YouTube channel. So that's kind of two new things this week I'm going to bring to your attention. Before I get into this week's topic, hobbyist or passionate? Now, before you email me a question, why hobbyist and passionate instead of hobbyist or professional? Well, here's the deal. So this is going back a long time. I'm going to say it's probably 1975. And I'm pretty sure I had just gotten my driver's license. My dear friend Roger and I had seen that there was going to be a Nikon School of Photography down in Anaheim, Southern California. And the two of us decided to go and see it. Now, neither one of us shot Nikon at the time. Roger shot Canon, and I shot Minolta. Funny thing, we both shoot Nikon now, have for eons. But at the time of the class, so I was just turning 16, we went to this school. And first, understand that they were using slide projectors. These are these big old clunky things. You have a tray of 72 little square mounts with film in them, and you would put them through a projector and on the screen. And the Nikon school, I forget, they had either 12 or 18 projectors to do all the presenting they were doing. It was just a spectacular thing. And I have no doubt that my being there and seeing that totally influenced my wanting to be an educator and putting on the slide presentations I have since the very beginning. But back to the point, hobbyist or passionate, and why not hobbyist or professional? So one of the instructors was a guy named Trevor Reyes, and he got up and was talking, and he seemed like he was talking to me at the moment. He said point blank, he said, "How many people here are professional?" And I didn't put my hand up. I was 16, man. I just got my driver's license for gosh sake. And he said, "Well," he said, "in my book, professional means you're really serious. Doesn't mean necessarily you're making money from your photography." And for a long time, I just took it at face value. Then I realized that he could have been saying, you could be someone in the business of photography, but at the moment, you might not be making money, which does happen at times. I mean, it is sometimes feast or famine. So that brings me to, hobbyist or passionate. Now, there is nothing wrong with either title, no matter how you want to anoint yourself, as a hobbyist or passionate. But right off the bat, I want you to know that I personally don't like the term professional, and I get tired of, this is pro quality, this is pro this. It's like qualify pro for me in a way that actually means something. Because I see a lot of people who have, these business cards and it says professional photographer, and they have their, John Smith there. And then I watch them, trample off on the trail and drop trash and have the ethics of a toad. And it's like, yeah, you're not a professional. It's so don't like that term, first of all. Next, it doesn't really, delineate you as being at the top of your game. Because if you're at the top of the game, you know that, you know, and at heart, you're a hobbyist. And even further down, you're very passionate, which is why you're still doing it. And if that's the case, you are, by every stretch of the imagination, someone who should be anointed as at the top of your field, which is what professional, okay, I think is supposed to represent. Now, can a hobbyist make money at photography? Of course. Does it mean they're no longer a hobbyist? Not at all. Can someone who is passionate make money with their photography? Of course. Will they make more than the hobbyist? Probably because they're passionate. And that might be why I delineate hobbyist from passionate. Because a hobbyist is doing it um, like any other hobby, whether you're building models or collecting stamps or knitting or whatever it is, that hobby. That hobby is something you pick up and you put down. And you pick it up and you put down. A passionate person, a passionate photographer, picks up the camera and can never put it down. Even if it's not in their hand, they're thinking about photography. And I know a lot of very passionate photographers who, um, yeah, for I don't know why, but they make zero money from their photography when I think they should be. So, why delineate the two and why have a podcast on these two topics? Ran into a couple of photographers of late, and one of them was feeling very frustrated because he thought he was just a hobbyist. And then she thought she was very much passionate about photography, but it wasn't, it was not totally fulfilling all the things she thought she should be enjoying being passionate about it. And the conversations kind of got me to thinking. So, when it comes to being a hobbyist, uh, first, it's not a title that you should take as derogatory because there's a lot of surveys and forms you fill out for this, that, and the other company, and they want you to categorize or label yourself as this, that, the other. And hobbyist seems to be like, it's below amateur, which I always thought was kind of funny. And it's not. It doesn't work that way. And then passionate never even makes it on these surveys. So a hobbyist, first of all, don't if you think you're a hobbyist, don't be ashamed. Two, don't worry about not having the latest gear because if it's doing a hobby, and you're picking up every so often, right? It's much better to invest your money in time at your hobby versus gear. Of course, if you're a photographer, it's hard to, right, not buy gear. On the flip side, if you're passionate, don't feel like you have to buy gear all the time to feed that passion unless you're finding yourself as you pursue that passion short of a piece of gear to help you fulfill it. Now, to me, that kind of sounds very professional, right? You're trying to make money at it. You need a tool. You've got to go get that tool. Why should you parse this out in your mind? Photographers, I've mentioned this a few times, I'm sure in the podcast, are really insecure. There are, so many bumps in the road that can easily derail you, make you feel like, it's you're not worthy. Uh, go into that whole skit. No. But anyway, and that label is part what I found for these two folks I was talking to, both him and her. Those labels were part of the fact that they kind of felt like they were in a creative rut, to put it in, wasn't their terms. That was what I kind of got from the conversation. And that creative rut, it happens to everybody. It happens to myself. It's not something that anybody can be immune from, and it's something that's fatal. It's just another one of those time things that wow, we kind of get stuck in that time. But whether you're a hobbyist or you're passionate about your photography, that happens, and buying a piece of gear is not going to solve that a lot of times. Worrying about your brand, a term I really hate because if you are really passionate about your photography, you're constantly, continually, forever evolving as a photographer, a visual storyteller. So your brand is going to change. Putting yourself out and pigeonholing yourself as you're doing X, Y, or Z, especially you're passionate about it, constrains you and constrains possible customers of your product. So yeah, don't go there either. In trying to help these two folks, I was kind of a little bit, I'm gonna say frustrated or tongue tied or creatively hitting a wall because they have come up against what so many of us come up against. And, putting those titles on there, on yourself and your photography, I think is probably one of the worst things we can do as creatives, as visual storyteller. Um, Whether you're saying you're a hobbyist or you're passionate or you're a professional or whatever it is, when I look at my peers who I look up to, and there's a lot of them out there, and then I look at photographers' work whose images I truly enjoy and just revel in their success and the beauty they're sharing with me. I look at them and I look at some of their background, their bio, you could say, their information, what they're putting out there, and I have yet to find any of them put a title on themselves, other than perhaps fortunate or that's probably the most common one, or feeling very lucky, or So that title, hobbyist, passionate. Yeah, they could be at the moment something that is important to you, but I'm going to suggest that it's momentary. And if you were you do like I like to do at times when I feel like I've just hit that creative wall, I take that camera. In this day and age, it's going to be the Z9. First thing I have to do is go in there and change the sound level to make this really function. Was never a problem with a D5 or D6, any kind of mirror camera, DSLR. Um, and I turn the shutter noise on, and then I hit the button and I just let that shutter rip. And I kind of keep my ear close to the camera. I just listen to it because it's kind of like I'm like Pavlov's dog. I hear that shutter clicking, and all of a sudden the mind starts clicking, and then the heart starts beating, and then creativity starts to flow again. Maybe not at the pace or the level I want, but it allows me to get past what you might think is a hobbyist. It does feed what comes to being very passionate, but it in the end leads, at least myself, back to being a visual storyteller. And that's really, the label. I think if we all were smart, and I know we're not going to, because as soon as you start thinking logically, you're going down the wrong path in this world. But anyway, I think that if we all just kind of consider ourselves, no matter if we just bought a camera for the first time today or been doing it for decades and decades, if we just label ourselves visual storytellers, we might actually avoid some of these big pit holes that we create for ourselves. Or as my mom used to always say, what's a rut? It's a grave where the ends knock out. And I don't want to see anybody getting buried by photography. Instead, instead, I really want to see you being elevated and lifted up, no matter what comes your way. So, hobbyist or passionate, valid titles, but perhaps, just shoot for that one called visual storyteller. Thank you guys for dropping by. I appreciate your support and hearing from you. Have a great week in this gorgeous light of fall. And remember to make every click your story.